PhilDev is a little bit of an anomaly, I would say, simply because we took on the challenge of trying to help the country, the Philippines, develop itself economically. While there have been so many foundations started to help the country, a lot of them are humanitarian in nature or charitable. And that's okay. I mean, there is instantaneous help to the needy. But we contended when we started to do the research for PhilDev, we, right or wrong, concluded that there is not enough wealth to affect the economy of the country by doing that. So, crazy people from Silicon Valley, we said, let's do something different and see what happens. So the root of the thesis or the strategic reason for PhilDev is that, and again, this is further research, talked to a couple of Nobel laureates, have dinner with them myself. And these are economies that studied the evolution of developed countries after World War II. If you look at Japan, Germany, they were devastated after World War II. How come immediately after 20 years, Japan became the number 2 economy in the world after the US? There was something there. And so they studied that, and so we adopted the results of their study. And the one conclusion is that a developing country must tap the global economy if you want to be a developed country. Why is that? Because in a developing country, the economy size is really, really small. The global economy, the size of the economy of the world, is infinitely bigger. And if you think about it, it's kind of intuitive that if all you do is work within your economy, only the rich get richer, because they're the ones that have the ability to invest. The poor stay there. That's one conclusion. Now, how do you actually tap the global economy? It's easier said than done. They also found out that technology is the key reason how one can tap the global economy through technology-based products and services.
Thank you so much, Dado. Very inspiring. I loved how you talked about technology and wanted to just extend a huge welcome to you, Lea, for
Thank you.
being in the heart of Silicon Valley.
I'm like, I can't believe I'm here. This is awesome.
This is awesome for us. Yeah. So the first question, actually, is I think everyone in this room who's grown up knowing about you, hearing about you over the last several years or decades even, since you started your career when you were 7. Yeah. So you must have been working at this for 10 years now at least.
Well,
Yes.
okay. Let's just leave it at that.
So this connection that we have with you, we'd love to hear what's your connection with technology. How do you use Google? Do you Google yourself? Do you
No, God, no.
Hangouts?
No. I kind of stay away from Googling myself, but then there's so much interesting content on YouTube that you just can't help but need to go in. And also so many videos from the TV show that I just finished, The Voice of the Philippines. A lot of the content from that TV show is now available on YouTube. So for people that have not been able to see the show, if you're not subscribers to TFC, I mean, how many people would not be subscribers to TFC? I mean, if you're Filipino, chances are you have TFC in your house, just to have a connection to home. But I mean, a lot of the videos, a lot of the performance videos, at the very least, as well as my very opinionated comments on performances, are available for anyone in the world to access, and that's been great because I've been able to then use it as reference because the uploads are so quick, to be able to look at it and see what strategies to adopt for the following week, and to see how the other teams and the other competitors are performing, and seeing what we can do, and seeing, okay, that performance was not so great, we need to improve it for the next time. And so I use it a lot for research and information, and a lot of the material that I've been learning over the last couple of weeks, Victor put everything on an Excel spreadsheet, and here's the YouTube link so that you can learn that song. And I'm like, all right, okay, there we go. Oh, okay, there we go. and so YouTube has actually been helpful in that regard for me as well. And I love playing video games also.
I heard that you're a bit of a geek.
I'm a bit of, yeah.
Tell us more about that.
Oh, yes. I have to put makeup on to hide the dark circles under my eyes. I've spent many a late night playing a lot of console video games. And I mean, it's things like Bioshock 2, it's the Assassin's Creed series. And my favorite's Assassin's Creed 2, only because of the most charming protagonist ever, who is Ezio Auditore, if anybody knows who that is. And if you don't, shame on you, because I think it's one of the best video game series ever. And my husband and I both are huge on video games. And I think there are certain games where I advance into the game further than he does. And basically, it's like honey, no spoilers, don't tell me what happens. It's like watching Breaking Bad. It's kind of to that level. I haven't caught on yet to the phenomenon that is Breaking Bad, and he does not let me hear the end of it. So I promise to catch up on the plane ride home. So I'll probably be done with the first season by the time I hit Manila. So at least he and I will have something to talk about when he picks me up from the airport. So he's sad that it's over. So there's that. Both of us have gadgets galore, and it's kind of funny. From the time that we met, we've almost always had identical devices. I mean, when we first met, it was the exact same Nokia phone, but in different colors. And it's like, oh, it was meant to be. And so there was that, and then he adopted the iPhone before I did, and I held on to a Nokia, but it was a little bit more advanced. And he's like, "Why aren't you hopping onto the iPhone?" I'm like, I'm going to wait until I can send to unlimited numbers of people and by texts, and there's still limits to that technology. So I need to hold off until it can do what I want it to do. And when it did, and I'm like, all right, I can sign on now. And so since then, we've had identical phones. And but he always gets we always get in different colors. And I always put a case on mine, just because you need to protect your investments. And he's vain about his iPhone, so there's no case on it. There's no protective layer because it's so beautiful. I don't want a shield. And like, you're going to regret that at some point. And he's dropped it so many times at the gym, at the office, at home. And so and then I think there was one time before we finally replaced his 4S with a 5. We were at the cemetery visiting his mother. He had his iPhone in his pocket, opened the car door, stepped out, and it fell onto the pavement and cracked the glass and broke his heart along with it. And of course, in my head, being a wife, if anybody here is a wife, you know that voice in your head? I told you so. I told you so. Don't want to listen to me. Okay, so you deal with that. So yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm going to have to get the next one now. It's like, duh, you think? Just all these little things that go on in my head. But yeah, so we're always surrounded by it, and we have a 7-year-old daughter who's very tablet savvy and smartphone savvy. She knows, she has an iPad mini. She knows what to do with it. I don't have to teach her anything. And it's cool that technology has advanced to the point of being so intuitive that you can give a 2-year-old that bit of technology, and then they'll be able to navigate even better than the grown-ups can sometimes. But we have to censor the games, obviously, and the apps that she is able to use. Like, can I buy that? No, you cannot have that one. Can I watch? No, you cannot watch that movie. And of course, the parental restrictions are activated. But yeah, we are in technology on a pretty high-end consumer level. I mean, we're not dum-dums when it comes to the stuff that we have and the stuff that we use, and we employ a lot of it. And I employ a lot of it at work. Obviously, I listen to music and study music with my phone. And with the tablet, being able to zoom music and being able to go through lyrics and being able to use that for work. And I no longer get CDs to study music. There's a television program called ASAP in the Philippines, which is incredibly popular. It's a Sunday afternoon variety show. And whenever I need to appear as a guest performer, their music department will just send the MP3s for me to listen to. And the technology then is also employed by the music director. They have their own software that they use, which I know nothing about, which my brother also gets to use, where they cut the songs and change pitches, change keys, attach things together, so that at least we have some sort of schematic going into a rehearsal, and we have an idea of what to do in order to save time. So it's also been incredibly helpful with the productivity side of that. Yeah.
Do you think technology has made a big difference in, well, you know, I hear that you use it for a lot of inputs and research and rehearsal and sort of the incoming information and availability, but you are such a warm person with a lot of emotion, and that's such a big deal in the arts.
Yeah.
Do you think that technology has also gotten to a point where you can actually share more of that nuance?
Well, it is. I think that it is possible, and with what Victor has created with Broadway Live, for example, which is able to provide that kind of content. And the thing about the arts and what I do, which mostly is like live performing and performing on stage, and it's usually a very interactive sort of a medium where it's people who are maybe just a few feet in front of you, and there's that kind of energy to be able to be savvy enough to try and capture that kind of a performance. I mean, obviously, first you need to be in a room full of people in order to fully represent the experience. And I mean, for the performer, it's important that it's a room where there are however many people. For example, we did a concert at the Allen Room at Lincoln Center, and we filled it with friends and members of the theater community. And I did the concert as if, I just did it as if I was just performing for the people in the room. However, I also had to be conscious of the fact that this was going to be recorded and eventually digitally streamed, which would then bring this experience into someone's laptop, into somebody's living room. And I mean, now with the way you're able to stream stuff from your laptops or from your phones onto a television set, and then the experience is right there in your living room. But then I have to be conscious of, Lea, you have to look at this particular spot because the camera is capturing you from this angle, and if you look a little too high, then you look a little weird. So there's also that. And he had to be a Nazi about that, which I appreciated. And then I'll hear these big sighs from the back of the room going, oh, yes. And you know, there's, and so there's that. So the technology actually in the room was extremely present with however many cameras, with a whole big camera setup, and with dollies and with cameramen, and a recording console, and me having to figure out which microphones to use and having to test that to create, one, the best sound for me coming through a speaker as possible, and also for capturing it for preservation. So I think the technology enables people to experience what's going on in a concert hall from their own home, but there also has to be, for me, it's really helpful when there are people in the room to make it a very interactive experience and a very immediate audience performer experience. That kind of interaction is very, very unique. And if the room was empty, I don't think we would have been able to make that happen. You know, so because I saw not long ago, I saw the iTunes Music Festival performance of Lady Gaga. And I mean, it was wonderful. It was incredible. And I felt like I was there. But there needed to be also this full audience that was interacting with her and applauding and laughing and crying and being in the room. There's something about that. I mean, it's great when we're able to capture it and be able to stream it and make the content available. But at the same time, for what I do, I need an audience in a room.
So it enhances the human.
It does.
It doesn't substitute.
Right, it's not a substitute. I mean, there's nothing like being in a Broadway theater watching, say, a show like The Book of Mormon and seeing all of these things happening in the same room as you, and my husband and I recently went. Obviously, we did not take our daughter. That is not a show to take children to. Absolutely not. And it was a show that he had wanted to see, and we had not really listened to the cast recording at the time. So a lot of what was happening on the stage for us was new, and there is so much profanity, and there's if any of you have listened to the cast recording of Book of Mormon, it's a bit of a shock initially, but then after you get over it, it's really, really funny, and it's genius. And if you're a fan of South Park, this is right up your alley. It was just incredible. I mean, there is no replacing that experience, obviously, but there is something to be said about making it available.
That's amazing. What shines through in what you're talking about and what you've applied as you've learned sort of how the industry has changed is just the depth of experience you've had as a performer. One thing that I think all of us are familiar with is the extensive resume that you have. I mean, I think many of us remember you from the Disney movies, from the plays you've done on Broadway and London and elsewhere, and just the sheer amount of accomplishments. I tried to print your Wikipedia page so that I could read about
Do not
you,
even read that.
and it kept
It's like I've had
printing and printing, and it was multiple
Yeah,
pages.
I need to figure something out. So I'm sure there's somebody in this room that will be able to help me. And no, because I called Wikipedia out on a tweet this morning, and I was very angry, and I said, Wikipedia, you suck. And yeah, because there were so many inaccuracies on my page. And the funny thing is, I tried to correct the Wikipedia entry. But the thing is, and I read a New Yorker article about somebody else that tried to do this and was unable to. And I'm like, so I put a blurb, which was all of 2 lines, and it's like, Lea Salonga will be editing this entry in the next few days because of the egregious errors contained, made by well-meaning people who feel that they know her career better than she does. Thank you. And I dated it. And I think there were some really cool people that took a screenshot of it before somebody went in again and edited it out. So it's like, so my question is this: how does a person like myself edit their own Wikipedia entry? Because it seems to be much more difficult than negotiating rush hour traffic on the 405 in LA, and probably 10 times more frustrating. So maybe if somebody from Wikipedia would be able to give me an answer, go to tweet me at Ms. Lea Salonga on Twitter. You can find me, and it really is me, and I do get combative and very opinionated with people. And the tone that I take makes people say, "Oh yeah, that really definitely is her." And I'm not the nicest person in social media. I can be a little ornery, and I can be a little bit obnoxious, but it's definitely me, and it's me jet lagged. That's not nice. It's not me being nice, and I'm not always diplomatic. I'm extremely opinionated, which regular viewers of The Voice would have noticed. And yeah, no, but I've never made anybody cry on The Voice, and
Not yet.
I'm not Simon Cowell. First of all, I'm prettier, and yeah, but. Yeah. So technology has also been able to help me stay in touch with fans, and because it's no longer 6 degrees or however many degrees of separation. There's no more separation. If somebody decides to say something, I have all the freedom in the world to either ignore or engage. Ricky Martin gave me a piece of advice: do not engage. And He's actually told a story about having to be physically restrained from his computer by a friend when I think, one comment was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And he was just like, "Why you?" And somebody said, "No, do not. And yeah, I mean, celebs like that, incredibly handsome celebrities like that have a bad day. And
Speaking of handsome celebrities, do you have any good stories for us? You've worked in multiple Hollywood circles and Broadway circles, etc., won multiple Tony Awards. You've rubbed elbows with a lot of these interesting people. Any good stories or favorite actors? Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have a story about Hugh Jackman. And this is before his success as Wolverine on X-Men. Very few people when he blew up like crazy on film as Wolverine on X-Men, when I saw the trailers, I'm like, wait a minute. I know this guy. And I knew him because a few years before the X-Men movie came out, there was a concert in London called Hey Mr. Producer, which is available on DVD. Shameless plug, insert here. No, and I was invited to be part of the concert to perform selections from Ms Saigon as well as selections from Les Mis and to be part of this big Sondheim section. And I was only too honored to do it. One of my girlfriends who had done Ms Saigon with me, she said, okay, for the second act, you have to make sure you are, for the Rodgers and Hammerstein section, you have to make sure that you are sitting in the house. And I said, why? And she said, just trust me, just do it. Okay, so I sit in costume, still in whatever costume I was wearing, so I'm sitting a few seats away from another actor. And from out of nowhere, a cappella, you hear this voice just singing, "There's a bright golden haze on the meadow." I'm like, who's that? Who is that? Who is... And it was the kind of a voice that kind of just made you sit up and what's going on? And you felt this anticipation. And then here comes this very tall, over 6 foot man dressed up. He was about to open 2 weeks later in Oklahoma. And so he came out, this tall, beautiful, rugged Australian man, and just singing with this big smile on his face, standing straight and tall and extremely confident. And I'm like, oh my God. And I heard sighs from the other ladies in the audience at the time going, just looking at him. And he just continued to sing, just note perfect and smiling and gorgeous. And I'm like, oh my God. It's a musical theater man, and these kind of men were so rare. And okay, and it's rare because I'll have to be completely frank. Musical theater is often considered as gay man's heaven, and I have had my share of gay leading men, and some are able to play straight better than others. But when you see when I see someone like that and you're doing musical theater, you have no idea how it's like we get kind of boy crazy at times because it's like they're so rare. It's like it's like being a member of National Geographic sighting a very rare animal out in the wilderness. It is of that magnitude, and it's just magical when you finally spot one, and you have to get your binoculars out and take lots and lots of pictures and take copious notes. But he just stood there and just sang, and I could not take my eyes off of him because he was beautiful and magnetic and incredibly charming. And I think the Oklahoma film starring him is available it's on YouTube, and you can find it on YouTube, and you'll understand when you see this. And it was a charm that could transcend. Once you looked at his face, and your heart just fell into your stomach, and you were just instantly filled with adoration. And it's not even a carnal desire when you look at him. It's not even about that, and maybe a little bit about it, but it's just more about this masculinity, and I mean, yeah, of course he would be cast as Wolverine, and I just wonder if on that set he ever broke out into musical theater songs with any other member of the cast. And I mean, he was very popular in Australia as a quite well-known musical theater leading man, and his success then moved to the West End and on to Hollywood, and he's also won his own Tony Award playing another Aussie in The Boy from Oz. And I'm just so happy that he's just garnered so much incredible success, and on film, and on stage and that he's not forgotten his roots. And I think he actually received, I don't know if it was management advice or representative advice, like you shouldn't be prancing on stage singing and doing musical theater. And I'm glad that he didn't follow that advice, because his kind of magic, there's something about him live in a theater just a few feet away from him. It cannot, I mean, I saw the films, I saw the X-Men films, and you know, and I've seen the YouTube clips, but there's nothing like being a few feet in front of him and yeah, there's nothing like that. I mean, he's pretty darn special, live and up close.
Well, Lea, speaking of celebrity icons, having you, a person like you here, I mean, your warmth is tremendous. And I think oftentimes when people come to see a celebrity icon interviewed one-on-one, it's to see, well, who's the real person underneath? And I have to say, in a moment, we feel like we all know you already. But I still have to ask, what do we not know about Lea?
Oh. And I know it's like, and Victor's been one of my best friends. I mean, he was the gay of honor at my wedding. And my wedding was a massive production, and he directed that. So, I mean, what do people not know? I mean, I don't know. I mean, my life is pretty much out there, and what you see is pretty much what you get, you know, and I pride myself on that. I mean, my family is that way, my brother's that way, my mother, oh gosh, yeah. She's very transparent, which is great. I mean, if she has any disdain for someone, the eyebrow goes up, and you know where you stand with her, and it's great. I mean, if you're in a good place with her, then she is incredibly warm and incredibly hospitable and generous. But when she starts to shut down, then it's like, good luck to you. I will be in the next room if you need me. But yeah, incredibly emotional woman, and I think both my brother and I, we got some of that from her, but obviously we're only half her, and the other half is our father, who's very good at keeping things close to the chest and at not always letting other people into what's going on in here. He's actually a mechanical engineer, so I am the daughter of an engineer. By education. That's something not a lot of people know. He went to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy in Long Island in New York. And he, I think it's like maritime something. It's like commercial maritime. That's kind of what his concentration was. And so he did a lot of that in the Philippines. And the other funny thing is that he said that when he was still at the academy, his stories about him at the academy, he used to take the train from school to the city and watch Broadway shows. And he remembers having seen South Pacific on Broadway. So it's kind of funny then that his daughter, many, 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 many years later, would end up on the Great White Way herself, not just once, but 2 or 3 times or 4 times, which I think makes him very proud, I would hope. So I think my love for technology must have come from that. So it may have been a genetic predisposition and curiosity for that kind of stuff.
Fantastic. Speaking of curiosity, we'd like to invite the audience to ask Lea questions directly. Anything you like is not off limits.
Hi, Lea. My name is Ulysses de Guzman. I'm from the YFPA organization.
Hey.
Thanks for being here. My question is, I saw some of on YouTube when you were auditioning for Ms Saigon, and I think it was like a documentary.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that experience? Because that was probably more than 20 years ago or so.
Oh my gosh, that audition was filmed in 1988.
Yes.
So that was oh my gosh, and that was a very, very long time ago. I was a freshman in college, and I was actually in pre-med, so I would have taken a whole completely different path into the sciences. So the audition, that is only a few minutes that actually represented a 3-day audition process for me. I mean, the first day wasn't filmed. That was like the first day was when all professional singers and actors were called and invited to audition. Second day was open call. So I was not on the first day because I had been a professional singer in the Philippines for, at the time, 10 years. So I went in to sing, and I strategically picked a song from Les Mis, having a feeling that it might be possible that the music from this new musical would be in a very similar style. And they kind of were not. But I mean, at least it gave the people auditioning me a hurdle, that it was something that they were already familiar with. And then I sang a pop song to kind of give them a bit of a range as to what I could do. So the stuff that was captured on film was my callback. And I had no idea if I was going to be called back after that. So I then brought the libretto of Les Mis with me and asked them to autograph it, because I didn't think I would ever see them again. So I figured, yeah, you know, what do I have to lose at this point? The experience was very interesting. I'd never had a 3-day audition process before. It was something that was very new to me, and very interesting and very nerve-wracking. And I mean, to actually feel my knees literally knocking against each other while trying to keep yourself together and singing a song is extremely difficult. And at the age of 17, it's yeah, I don't know how many 17-year-olds could go through it, but there were quite a few teenagers that were able to kind of get over that. And there were a few of us, not even 20, that headed over to London to actually start rehearsals for that show, which is pretty cool.
I guess they just sort of stole my question. I was going to ask about working with Bublé and Schoenberg and what that experience was like.
Well, I've actually, the cool thing about having worked with Bublé and Schoenberg, I mean, first of all, they're kind of legendary in that they created this incredible musical that still had a life and was just recently turned into a film, which again starred Hugh Jackman. Going back to him, working with these two. It's actually like having like your fathers at first, because you're trying to make sure that you sing their music right and that you make them happy. Many years later, working with them on other things, after having added to my resume and after having added to my body of work, they sort of became equals. And my mouth got a little more sassy. And Alain remarked, I don't remember you being like this when you were 18. And like, yeah, we all grow up sooner or later. But they are incredibly lovely men to work with, incredibly collaborative. And Claude Michel, for me, I will always have a soft spot in my heart for him, and not only because of his musical gift, but also for his love for my country, for the Philippines. I mean, he set up Sun and Moon Foundation, which is an orphanage, and he adopted his elder daughter. He has 2 daughters. His older daughter, Margot, from the Philippines. So, and he comes back at least once or twice a year to look in on the orphanage and to make sure that everything is still running smoothly. And I don't know of anyone of that kind of stature to have that kind of commitment and a consistent commitment to a cause like that, and to always be able to make time. And he's brought his wife, Charlotte, over to look in on it, or if he's unable to make a trip, then she does on his behalf. And he's just a wonderful man, period, as well as an incredible musician to get to work alongside on projects, and it is an ongoing relationship.
I appreciate all the time you spend with your fans, and like the stuff you do on social media is really exciting for us. I had a funny little self-deprecating story. I went and heard you 4 years ago in Louisville, Kentucky, I guess. the concert, and like you were doing that thing where you invited audience members up to sing Aladdin with you, and it was exciting. So I was all psyched to do it. So I jumped up there, and then I got stage fright and had to stop. So it was sort of a bummer. Some other guy ran up to the stage, but then after that, it became like this real like terrifying thing because I thought, wow, I'm always hesitating in my life and not making things happen. So I couldn't sleep for 2 days. It was so ridiculous, right? And then with all my friends and I, we started calling these like moments where you hesitate, like Lea Salonga moments. So it became like a sort of a concept in our discourse.
There's actually a name now for this. Okay.
So thanks for that, I guess. It was a really exciting year. I had a lot of
honor to have.
Okay. I had a lot of adventures that year, sort of trying to make the most. So.
Oh, thanks for sharing that story. That's awesome.
May I? Hi, my name is Jeannie. Nice to meet you, Lea. I'm in the field of clinical psychology, so we're in kind of very different fields. But as a clinician, one thing that's important is self-care. And so as a global superstar, how do you practice self-care?
Well, the video games actually do help, strangely enough. I mean, it's one way to kind of vent my anger and frustration without actually, taking it out on an actual human being. So there's that. I mean, just taking a wrench and hitting a zombie in the face. It feels really good to do. And so I find that very therapeutic. Just conversations with my friends, and I always make sure to have dinner with a close clutch of friends. And I mean, Victor is one of them, and we have a close clutch of girlfriends and other friends in New York City where I'm there so frequently. So there's always going to be like a group outing of some sort where we eat and we talk, and a lot of the time it's not about theater. We talk about relationships. We talk about children, and then we talk about the stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with the outside world. We talk about what goes on in our own lives, and sometimes in talking things out, you're able to then, when you hear yourself say something, then everybody has input. Or if somebody else is having a relationship issue, me being blunt will not even filter the thoughts that pop into my mind, and they reach my mouth before my brain can tell me to stop talking. And sometimes it's appreciated, and sometimes I wish I didn't hear that. And but I mean, there's that. So it's extremely therapeutic to kind of get back in touch with people that know me best, and with people that know me unfiltered and uncensored and real. Spend a lot of time with my family, spend a lot of time with my daughter and with my husband, and I guess part of the self-care is kind of returning to a very real life of school pickups and parent-teacher conferences and heading to the grocery and doing the stuff to take care of your house. And sometimes, I guess, in taking care of other human beings, you kind of take care of yourself also, because then you have another responsibility that has absolutely nothing to do with the work. And sometimes working as a performer, and when you have many pairs of eyes looking at you and trained on you, I mean, there is always a danger that you turn into this narcissistic, self-centered monster. So when the energy then goes from you to something else, then it kind of balances things out.
Okay, so we have some questions that we gathered online before this event to make sure we had enough representation for people that couldn't make it here. And one of the questions we had online was from Minnie Ott, one of the Googlers here. She says, "You were a freshman at Ateneo during my senior year, and the biggest news at the time was that you got the lead role in Ms Saigon. If you had not become a successful international performer, what would have been your second career choice?"
I really don't know, and it's not something I really think about now. I try not to think about what could have been, because what is really pretty darn cool. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I would have continued my studies in medicine, because I I didn't have a head for chemistry, and just thinking about having to go through organic chemistry really terrified me. So I'm kind of glad that things worked out the way that they did. I don't know. I probably would have continued on in the arts path, but still kind of keeping a toehold on the sciences a little bit, because there were certain things that did interest me. So but then again, I really don't know.
Okay, one more question from online, and then we'll go back to in the room. Another question we had online from Google Moderator is from Yao Cheng. Do you sing in the shower, and if so, what song?
I actually sing in the shower when I need to study material. When there's a song that's really wordy, or a song that's really difficult, or something that I just kind of need to go over and over and over again, then I do it in the shower. And the acoustics in there are actually not bad, that I can hear my voice really clearly and be able to focus. So yes, I do, but not in the way that people do.
I wanted to ask, how do you juggle being a mom and then like the global superstar that you are? I mean, you kind of mentioned some stuff about picking up from school, and it's just a curiosity of mine because I'm a mom too, and I'm juggling.
Really well thought out scheduling, I think. I mean, and also shared responsibility. I mean, my husband does the morning drop-offs because I cannot do them. Because I'm a night owl, and I hate getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning to do a drop-off. It's like, no, I'm doing pickup, you are doing drop-off. And he's a morning person anyway, so it's not inconvenient for him. I think it's just keeping a priority straight and making sure that I spend most of my time at home with my family, and when I do travel outside of the country, the time away is limited, or the time away from my family is limited, especially now that my daughter's getting older, and I'm finding that she needs me more and more now, the older she gets, than when she was much younger. It's kind of interesting how that's kind of happened. I do spend a lot of time away from the Philippines when she's on summer break. Because that is when I'm able to travel. That's when I can perform, and then she comes with me, and then we try to find interesting stuff for her to do, museums. I mean, we took her to the Natural History Museum in New York City when I was there for a nice long stay, and so she got to actually see dinosaur fossils, and she's really interested in dinosaurs, and she wants to be a paleontologist when she grows up, and a fashion designer, among other things. It's yeah, so I think it's just a matter of figuring out what the priorities are, and then scheduling accordingly, which was what made The Voice the perfect thing, because I was able to be home and do what I loved to do at the same time. And because of the reach of TFC and where ABS-CBN has placed their networking, I was still seen by an audience worldwide, or at the very least in Filipino homes worldwide, which is really cool.
Thank you. We watched The Voice too, and you're amazing.
Thanks. Thank you. And we won.
Hi, my name's Rex. I'm with YFPA. It's funny, when I got the email invite for this, as I scrolled through it, the first words that caught my eye were Princess Jasmine. And growing up, Aladdin was my sister and I's favorite movie. And I was just wondering, so much of Disney's culture is very magical, sort of like mysterious. And you've got to work on arguably like one of the greatest like Disney movies of all time. I was wondering if you could just shed some light on your experience with Disney and how that was.
It's actually pretty magical for us too, for the people that work. It's like being in the Emerald City and being behind the curtain where the wizard was. But it actually is, it's also magical behind the scenes. I mean, getting to work with people like Alan Menken and Tim Rice, and these are musical theater legends as well. Alan Menken having done Little Shop of Horrors, and now he's represented on Broadway in Newsies. and also having done Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid, and Tim Rice, who wrote the lyrics for Evita. So that's part of his resume. And so so when I got to meet him, I was just this huge fan. The behind the scenes stuff, I mean, being cast as a voice actor in a Disney movie, it's refreshing because your actual appearance as a human being has absolutely no bearing on whether or not you get the job. You literally can show up in your pajamas, sing a song, and go home, and it's all great. But the cool thing about recording A Whole New World and even Reflection in Mulan is that you do it in a room with 75 other musicians and all of you playing in concert with one another. And for me, that is just an incredibly magical experience, just singing with an orchestra of that size and with the caliber of musicians that are in the room. It's just mind-blowing for me. And so, you know, as a singer, as a musician, and getting to experience something like that, and then later on watching it on screen, there's still the whole, how do they do that feeling when you're watching a magician on stage. Disney is magical, period, for the people that work behind the scenes as well. And it's, you know, A Whole New World was recorded a few days before my 21st birthday. So that was, 20 or so years ago. And so it's like, it still blows my mind that I got to be part of something that wonderful.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Hi, Christine Velasquez with PNEM, Filipino Networking Association of Silicon Valley. First off, it's such a treat and a pleasure to be in your presence. I'm sure everyone could agree. I've heard you sing, I've heard your name throughout the years, and to share in this energy today is just such a treat. And being here and seeing the realness around the way you carry yourself, how grounded you are, and how down to earth you are is just very, very it's something that is so appreciated, and so I wanted to acknowledge that. So my question was brought up earlier about kind of more of the how do you balance all this being on the world stage and work-life balance, particularly for professionals and those who are starting their careers and such. But you answered that in a very nice, thoughtful way. So I thought that maybe sharing more about your passion and following your passion. Obviously, what you've done and accomplished is the epiphany of following your passion and being successful at so many levels. And if you can share a little bit of insight on that and how that has really helped you get you to where you are today.
Okay. I think every person's passion path is different. But I guess it's really try to go as hard as you can, I guess, when you're in your 20s, when when you have the energy to do it. When it's, you know, and my mother always gave this advice, you know, just focus on your career when you're young and getting into that. Because you can always, when it comes time for you to have your family, it will happen when it's supposed to happen. But when you're in your 20s, try to focus on your work and establishing your place in the world and figuring all that out. So I think a lot of stuff happened when I was younger. And then as I got older, then I started to think about family and children. And so the work would kind of taper it down a little bit. But then things would then kind of do this. And so when I felt my career would be on an upswing, I felt the need to also still take advantage of it. But then it also would involve travel and time away. So, I mean, there is still some degree of sacrifice that kind of needs to be made. And also I chose my spouse well, in the sense that his support for what I do and for me as a human being is something I thank God for every single day. Because, I mean, he says things like this. He's like, honey, I mean, I would never ever stop you from doing what you do because you are in a unique position to inspire people. And so why would I ever take you away from that and take that away from you? So I mean, I will always be behind you and I will always support you. But in the same breath also, it's like, we need you here at home too, though. So I mean, it's just, I guess it's just balancing how much time away, and also figuring out with my family and with my representatives what to accept, where to travel to, where it's okay, and trying to schedule things where the whole family can come with me. And it's just that kind of thinking that always has to be, being used up in my mind.
So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Lea. I wanted to ask if you had any parting words as we start to close, related to actually being Filipino and some of the work that you're doing with PhilDev. We'd love to hear any advice for us as we try to engage with our community and inspire others ourselves.
Well, first of all, to everybody here at Google, thank you for the invitation to come. I mean, as a nerd and as a bit of a geek, you have no idea how happy I am to be here right now. you just don't. There's that, and for me to be able to share a little bit of myself with you, and since it's going to stream on YouTube, hi. It is wonderful to align oneself with an organization like PhilDev, and it's because I'm one who believes more in the teach a man to fish approach to life than give a man a fish. It's for me, and I learned this firsthand because I put my younger brother through music school. The return of investment is going to be incredibly high for the rest of his natural life, for as long as he keeps on creating music, for as long as he makes this world a better place. He's an incredibly gifted musician, and so I felt, and the whole family felt, recognizing this gift, we have to invest in his education. And it is that kind of approach that I guess that PhilDev is employing that I feel resonates. And being able to help raise funds for the organization, and being one to bring awareness to the Filipino community about this organization, then it's incredibly rewarding for me. So thanks to PhilDev for the invitation to be part of Filipino American History Month and to help kick it off this weekend. So it's pretty awesome.